Michael Waldman joins us now. He's the president and CEO of the Brennan Center for Justice. Michael, thanks so much for joining us. You've actually written a book about the U.S. Supreme Court. Now, Trump's spokesperson has said that he's thinking that the U.S. Supreme Court is going to overturn Colorado's ruling. How do you see this all playing out?
Well, I think Colorado's Supreme Court ruling will go to the Supreme Court. It was a very big deal. What the Colorado Supreme Court said is that Donald Trump was engaged in an insurrection, and that under the terms of the 14th Amendment of the Constitution, that means he's actually ineligible to be president. This has never been an issue that's come up before. We never had a president try to overthrow the result of the election before. Other courts in other states have ruled otherwise, and so the U.S. Supreme Court, whether it wants to or not, is going to take the case, probably. They may not go as far as making a ruling on everything the Colorado court said. They may try to find a way to avoid having to make a big ruling, but no doubt it's going to be on their plate.
For you, as an expert in constitutional law, if the U.S. Supreme Court does side with the Colorado Supreme Court, how do you see this impacting and playing out in other states?
Well, if the Supreme Court were to say, yes, he's ineligible to be president, this would be a very big deal in constitutional law and in the politics of the country. There's a lot of legal questions that they'll have to, no doubt, wrestle with about who can bring the case, whether the timing is right. There are other cases, though. This is all part of the legal consequences finally coming home for January 6th and for what happened in 2020. The other big case where they are likely to make a ruling soon is on the question of whether, as Donald Trump claims, he's immune from prosecution by Jack Smith, by the special counsel, because he was once president. That is the case that has also not ever been heard by the Supreme Court before. That one is actually, I would say, as a legal matter, a pretty easy case. There's many, many reasons to think the former president is not immune from prosecution just because once upon a time they were president. But they've put the January 6th trial in Washington, D.C. on hold until this gets resolved. And
so you think the Supreme Court is going to say, yes, he can be prosecuted?
I would be very surprised if they didn't say he can be prosecuted. If you believe a president is not a king, if you believe a president is subject to the rule of law, you have to say that in some cases that they can be criminally prosecuted if they engaged in criminal activity. It's not a question necessarily of what they rule, but when, because everything's on hold right now. And that one of the complications here is, for example, Donald Trump is saying, hey, slow down considering whether I'm immune, but speed up making sure that I'm on the ballot in Colorado. So it's all going to land on the Supreme Court's lap.
You've said the potential for a second Trump term demands major reform. Explain what you mean by that.
Well, first of all, we need to make sure that we have election laws and voting laws where everybody can vote, where we have free and fair elections, and where we don't have the chance for people to try to overturn elections. Congress actually passed some good, strong bipartisan legislation, but there are other things to do as well. I think we need to look at our democracy and the way our democracy works, and everything from redistricting and gerrymandering to voting rights, because it's not working so well. And interestingly, polls now show that the health of American democracy is one of the central issues for voters in 2024. It hasn't been that way in a long, long time, so I think it's going to be a central part of the debate going forward.
Michael Waldman, we thank you so much for your expertise. Really appreciate talking to us tonight.
My pleasure.
Hi, everyone. George Stephanopoulos here. Thanks for checking out the ABC News YouTube channel. If you'd like to get more videos, show highlights, and watch live event coverage, click on the right over here to subscribe to our channel. And don't forget to download the ABC News app for breaking news alerts. Thanks for watching.